I've heard from a friend's uncle that the entire state of Florida is haunted as a joke, or at least it seemed like one. But I would have never expected something like this. As the title suggests, I needed some alone time. A week ago was when I broke up with my girlfriend of 2 years and needed some space. Honestly, I wasn't even sure if I was making the right call. The breakup broke her to pieces and I was just confused. You'd think having someone there would help put me at ease, but my mind was in a dark place of doubt and worry. I would notice things that just made me question her priorities. I would pick apart conversations and draw assumptions out of my ass, then roll with it like the stubborn prick I can be. In my defense, she wasn't the only thing stressing me out in life. My boss was going through a dispute with some investors and was taking it out on me and a few other workers. Once, I almost got fired for being a grand total of 3 minutes late due to an unprecedented train blocking me from being on time. I've been working for this guy for nearly 5 years and was always on time. In this current economy, I needed this job desperately. Any threats of being let go sent me over the edge. Aside from that, my little sister was arrested for possession charges and threatened to murder my dad a month ago. He won't stop texting me or calling to guilt trip me about moving out of state and away from home. It was working. But I couldn't bring myself to look at my father in the eyes anymore. Not out of fear, but because I refused to be in the same room as my abuser for too long. Things tend to get ugly. I still wanted to be there for my mom and sister, though. They live in Michigan with a piece of shit, and here I am, soaking it up in the Sunshine State. Then you got my so-called friends who were all arguing about who fucked who said this, who did what, and somehow involving me in drama I had no direct part of. The shit show that had become my life in a span of a short 3 months was all-consuming to such a degree that every little thing was beginning to bother me. With all of that in mind, this trip near the Everglades was supposed to be something to help clear my head. I booked 3 nights and was longing for an opportunity to just get my thoughts in order and fuck around. I was growing increasingly annoyed with the beaches and buzz of city life in Fort Lauderdale, too. Looking up Airbnbs on my laptop, I found something sort of low-key that had very little reviews and looked like the perfect getaway for myself. Cheap. A little too cheap, actually. It was an off-platform booking through someone that had owned the property and rented the space out to people who would be willing to stay in such a secluded area. Coincidentally enough, I recognized the name attached. It was my friend's uncle's property. The one I spoke of earlier. A 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow located about 15 miles east of the Everglades Safari Park on Big Cypress Road, an area where you'll see nothing but thick vegetation and random small bodies of water for miles. I think the appeal was mostly due to the surrounding attractions, like an airboat tour, several wildlife nature centers complete with hiking trails, and even an observation tower nearby. I made a mental note to visit all of them. If I got myself nuzzled somewhere with little to no people around, then that would be ideal. I would bring any entertainment outlets for myself along with whatever else I'd need for a few days to just decompress. Looking forward to the alone time with soothing sounds of distant swamp ambience. Just me, an empty house, my PlayStation, some weed, and the bog. It was sounding better by the minute. So, with no hesitation, I went ahead and paid the guy via Cash App, and he said he would meet me there to let me in and give me the keys to the kingdom. I made sure to text that buddy to let him know I rented out his uncle's place, and he responded with a joke about throwing a party there. I sent back a laughing emoji because I didn't really know what else to reply with. At least someone would know where I was in case anything happened, right? The interaction with the owner was pleasant enough, and his welcoming smile was comforting as he informed me that the nights out here are chill, as he put it. I guessed that he was trying to appeal to my generation's slang. It made me smile in return, and I thanked him before he set off down the gravel driveway to the 2-lane highway leading to the city. After I set my belongings in the living room and stocked the kitchen with the groceries I bought for the stay, the first thing I wanted to do was get used to the layout and check out the master bedroom. The place met my standards of comfort, and the bedsheets smelled pleasant, having been confirmed by me effectively dropping my body's dead weight on the thing to judge its cozy levels. 10 out of 10 will be getting some good sleep on this thing. There was something of concern, though. The door's handle to the smaller bedroom wouldn't lock. Like it was busted, and inside the room, both of the windows were boarded up to hell. I'm talking thick rows of 2x4 all drilled into the frame. A small pile of more wood and a drill were shoved in the corner near the closet. It made me think that someone was boarding up the windows like in a zombie film. I went outside and noticed one of the windows was cracked pretty badly. But I just figured it was something my friend's uncle was repairing, or something like that. I was too excited to worry about that right now. Maybe my friend partied too hard here one night and pissed his uncle off. Finishing up my exploration of the property, I fired up my PlayStation and connected it to the Wi-Fi, which was surprisingly good out here. It would dip in and out for a time, but I had plenty of first-player games too. I could also use the many streaming services I've downloaded to catch up on some shows. Once everything was connected, I spent some time playing Resident Evil Requiem, a game that I swore I would take my time playing. But now that I was alone and extremely baked, I loaded from my recent save point and beat the damn thing in a few hours. It was only 5 p.m. by then, and the sun was still blazing as the orange and white wisps of clouds complemented the dark green horizon. I thought to myself that I should take out the ground beef and get some nachos going. I'll save you the agony of explaining how the rest of my day went. I woke suddenly on the couch. It was the hoot of an owl that stirred me awake. I must have fallen asleep after putting myself in a nacho coma, because I was still propped up on the couch in a seating position. There was one of the plates of them half eaten and left on the table in front of the couch while a movie was playing. I stretched and yawned, glancing at a clock that read a little after 4 in the morning. Time to transfer my body to the bedroom and get back to sleep properly. Grabbing the plate and cleaning up the half-eaten mess, my attention turned to one of the windows I had opened. It had a clear view of the tops of trees in the not-so-far distance. The moon cast a calming light on the leaves that flowed in the wind hypnotically. What stood out was the outline of a white owl perched atop a particularly gnarled branch that jutted upwards. At first, I thought it was the coolest thing I could have seen at that moment. But after I finished cleaning the plate and started making my way towards that window to close it, I looked at it again and noticed that its sights were on the house. It was motionless in its position, as still as the night. I know that sounds innocuous enough, but the longer I stared at it, the more I began to notice things that weren't really adding up in my head. Like its eyes. Large, round pupils and white orbs that I knew for certain were staring at me. Even from the distance, I could tell. I could feel its gaze upon me. It didn't seem natural that an owl would be facing a house in such a manner, looking inside at its inhabitants as a nocturnal predator, stalking prey. It made the hairs on my neck stand at attention while my mind tried to justify that it must have been interested in a human making its stay here. Nothing more. A new visitor to its feeding grounds, and just wanted to gauge whether or not I was going to interfere, perhaps. The moon only did so much as it hung behind the bird, its outline of white feathers glowing a pale blue from the lunar light bulb, 2 sharp ridges above the eyes angled as if its cartoonish brows furrowed at the sight of me. Once my eyes adjusted better, I could tell that the owl was actually farther away than I had previously thought. This guy was huge. Earlier, it just appeared to be an owl on a nearby tree, but now I could see that it was farther away, like I had experienced some form of visual illusion to make me perceive its size as normal. Now, understanding the actual distance of the tree it was on, it looked like a massive barn owl, face pale as the moon but shrouded in shadow, which made me think of that one movie about aliens with the barn owl on the movie cover. I wasn't able to make out every detail of its oval-shaped visage, but the best way I can describe it would be a ghost-face Halloween mask. A large beak, or perhaps a mouth, conjured up anxiety in my chest. I started to get a really, really bad feeling then. Are owls known to attack people? I didn't know, but I did know one thing. I was frightened by the implication, especially right now. As if it knew the thought had finished crossing my mind, the owl took off into the night sky. I quickly made my way to the front door. It was unlocked, so I locked it and went to the back door to lock it as well. Same for all the windows, doing my best not to look outside. Look, I know what you're thinking. Why is this guy so scared of some owl he saw at night? What's the big deal? It's what I saw as the thing took flight. The owl didn't just have talons gripping the branch. I saw a pair of arms extend outward from within the wingspan before flying off. Human arms. Needless to say, I had a hard time sleeping that night. I tossed and turned until I finally drifted off, but I kept thinking about how I passed out on the couch with the doors and windows unlocked. Around 5:30 a.m., I heard a strange sound by the front door. I could tell it was the hoot of an owl, but its pitch suggested coming from human vocal cords. And I just lay in the bed, staring at the ceiling in hopes that the owl would eventually go away. After some time, I managed to drift off again. Finally, at 10 a.m., I got up and began making coffee and breakfast, reassured that my night visitor was gone. I told myself that I was too groggy to understand shapes in the dark last night and was probably still high. Whatever made that grunting noise must have been some kind of other animal, or group of animals like bobcats or something. It's not uncommon to find those out here. Rare, but not unheard of. Shaking off any doubts in my sleepiness, I decided to go visit one of those locations nearby and enjoy the sunshine and sights Florida has to offer. Elated at the opportunity to breathe in the earthy atmosphere while being surrounded by nature instead of the city. I got in my truck and kept an eye out for any owls or large birds that may startle me, but I didn't see anything around. My first stop was that observation tower. Getting to the top was worth the walk up the long circled path, and after climbing the spiral staircase at the top, I was greeted by an amazing view, free of any stress my life was throwing at me. I could stay here for hours and just look at the vertical line separating the blue sky and our majestic planet. I know the world can be scary and confusing, but it's the small things like this that I enjoy holding dear, relishing the moment in the midst of chaos and uncertainty. Our Earth has many things to offer, but even more to cherish and preserve. It made me wonder why any business or organization would want to destroy such a wonderful paradise to put up buildings that might not even last a century. How does that one song go again? My eyes then caught a glimpse of some birds flying out from a tree and relocating somewhere else. I watched them gather at a point in the sky and all fly towards an objective collectively. It made me think back to that owl I saw last night. Glancing at my watch, I noticed that I had been up there for quite some time now, and would like to press on with my adventures. Once I was down from there, I noticed a group of 3 people talking amongst themselves as they made their way towards me. I overheard one of them talking about something that piqued my interest.
She said her dog wouldn't stop barking at the woods behind their house. Like, non-stop barking, you know? Like something was out there.
The woman was explaining to her friends.
Rex isn't known for doing things like that, so Randy just said it was probably an animal. But they all saw the trees move around like someone was actually there and ran off.
She finished. I'm one of those people that enjoy striking up conversations with strangers that seem to be normal enough. Sure, that's a bit odd to hear, knowing that I came out here for some peace and quiet. But I'm not some introverted and unpleasant person that doesn't enjoy the presence of a passerby. So I chimed in as I walked beside them. I saw a big owl last night that freaked me out. The thing had to be 5 feet tall if I'm being completely honest, I explained. The group shifted their attention to me, and suddenly we were in a conversation about strange things, and I explained where I came from, where I was staying, and about my weekend getaway. The conversation veered into a more positive note then.
Oh, it's just beautiful out here. Sometimes it's nice to not see a palm tree at every corner, right?
One of them said, gesturing to the wide expanse of forests. The group of older women were pleasant to talk to, and we even shared laughs here and there after some other topics were brought up. The conversation then turned back to more mysterious topics, and I said something about what I heard this morning. Suddenly, a man's voice called out from behind me.
Pardon me, but can you tell me more about this big owl you saw?
I turned around to greet the stranger. He was a tall man, with brown hair combed neatly, wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt. He smiled a wide and welcoming grin after I met his dark brown eyes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I couldn't help but overhear as I walked up.
He trailed off. I told him everything was fine, and the trio announced their departure while I focused my attention to my new acquaintance. Yeah, it was... well, it wouldn't stop staring at me. Honestly, it felt like it was waiting for a chance for me to come outside so it could hunt me. I chuckled, laughing my nervousness away, failing to mention anything about the arms that I saw. He didn't share the same sentiment.
You may actually be right,
he told me.
Some things around here aren't what they seem.
His words sent a pang of anxiety through my veins as he kept that smile up. What do you mean? I asked.
I can't say the name out loud. The legend says it attracts them,
he explained. I raised an eyebrow.
I know this is strange, but this area has been known for sightings of them. You said you're staying at that small house with the fish mailbox?
Yeah, I replied, feeling a little creeped out now that some stranger knew where I was staying and talking about some weird shit with me. I felt the back of my neck get hot despite the sunny day.
Look, I'm trying to help you. I know some medicine men. There's a kind of tea I can get you that helps ward them off while you sleep. They like it when you're sleeping. That's why they mainly come out at night or early in the morning. Did you see it then? Maybe while getting up to use the bathroom or staying up late?
I nodded, starting to actually hear the man out. Still, there was something off about this guy. I couldn't really tell exactly. Maybe it was just because he was someone I didn't know and that we were having a pretty messed up conversation on some observation tower in South Florida. His eyes also perturbed me a bit. His smile was welcoming, but his glare had this glazed-over, apathetic look to it, like he's been through hell and would rather not talk about it.
I'm sorry you're going through this. I really am. I know what it's like.
He mentioned with a look of genuine fear as he finally dropped the smile slightly.
There's a reason I know about these herbs, let me tell you.
Do these things hurt people? I inquired, deep down already knowing the answer but still sought confirmation.
Oh yes, I'm afraid they do. They'll never explain something like that in the news. I don't want to bother you anymore, but if you're going to stay another night there, then please at least allow me to leave some of that tea in the mailbox. You won't even know I came by.
I stared at the man for a moment in utter disbelief. So, I go somewhere secluded for a mini vacation, only to get stalked by some dangerous owl cryptid. Lovely. All right, I said, finally admitting to myself that this guy actually meant no harm. All right, yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Don't mention it,
he said, the smile returning to his face.
I'll be off now. Stay safe.
He took off down the path leading to the parking lot. For a moment, I watched him walk on and contemplated his existence. Nothing out of the ordinary at all. Just some guy warning another guy about a monster. Completely normal. Had he specifically come here just to deliver this warning to me? It certainly felt like it. I know the world works in mysterious ways and all that, but had he really just so happened to be walking by and just so happened to know about this very specific thing that happened to me? Suddenly, this trip was turning out to be the exact opposite of what I had hoped for. I contemplated leaving right then and there. I really did. There were still those attractions I wanted to check out, so I tried to clear my mind of any creepy shit and went to get an airboat ride. I dreaded going back to that house. Nearly 5 hours had passed since I left and it was going on 7 p.m. Reluctantly, I decided to drive back, but not before stopping at a liquor store to buy a 6-pack of some liquid courage. The sun was still out, but dipping slowly into the horizon as the pit in my stomach formed. Pulling into the driveway, I stopped to check if that man had kept his word, and opened the fish mouth to reveal an envelope filled with herbs in a small plastic bag and a note. The note, when unfolded, contained these small blue flower petals. The note read as follows.
Hello again, friend. As promised, I have delivered the herbs to help your troubles with sleeping. The ingredients I have shared with you are blue lotus flower, dried mugwort, cloves, and a special powder from my ancestors. First, put the blue lotus flower in a bowl and burn them. Then, mix the remaining ingredients in a blend and steep in hot water for 15 minutes before drinking. Swallow all the herbs as a mixture for maximum effect, but you can also just strain the water and drink it as a tea. They don't like the smell of people when this drink enters the bloodstream. I know it's odd and scary, but I promise this will work. Adding flavoring like sugar or honey will dilute the mixture and it will not work. I'm sorry, but I promise the taste is not too bad. I hope this helps you get back to enjoying the rest of your vacation. All the best, Jerry.
Something about the note made me trust the man more. It seemed genuine enough. I don't know. At first, he seemed alarming, but I think I was just on edge from last night's ordeal. The herbs smelled pretty good, too. So I got back in my truck and pulled up to the house. I took a moment to gauge my surroundings and shove down any fears that tried bubbling to the surface. Shaking my head, I brought the herbs inside and left them next to a tea kettle I found in a cabinet. I took a moment to pause in the middle of the house and listen for anything strange inside the house or outside. After about a solid 2 minutes of apprehension and nothing but the sounds of critters in the wind, I noted that there was nothing strange going on. I started up my PlayStation again and smoked a little bit, still feeling creeped out. After playing some arcade-style games, I decided to look at my phone to see if I had anything going on with social media or any missed notifications. Such a stupid idea. All I saw was a shitty text from my dad, people complaining, and more horrendous reminders of the current political climate. I was supposed to be here for a break from all that, and here I was, back on this damn phone. I think we've all been programmed to just be like that now. They sell us these products that are supposed to help with virtually everything in our lives, and then it becomes an addiction as more time goes on. Even though you understand that it's not good for your brain meat, you still do it anyway, because it was marketed as a tool for your advancement. What a load of shit. Something stuck out, though. It was a post from Angela, my ex. She said that she went on a date and that it sucked. Alright, that post is what made me want to throw the damn thing on the ground. I didn't. But I put it away and decided to roll up again and play another action game. cracking open my fourth White Claw. Aside from some owl monster apparently stalking people around here, I could still see some distant headlights in between the thick trees on roads through the blinds whenever I peeked. It made me feel less alone and relatively safe from whatever that thing was. Maybe it fucked off somewhere. I was starting to feel better because I had received an achievement on a game I was trying to get for months. I thought to myself that all it took was for me to get some isolation. Feeling accomplished, it was time to put on some aggressive music to keep the vibe going. One of my good buddy's bands was the first track on a playlist I had made a while ago, and the sound of guitars and synthesizers added more than enough flair for me to game the night away. And the drinks were starting to loosen me up. A couple of hours went by, and I had to use the bathroom, so I made my way there, but froze when I noticed something on the room's dresser. I must have either not seen it until now, or something else was happening. I was desperately trying to rationalize if I had brought a mask with me, but there was no way I had anything of the sort. My footsteps echoed on the hard wood as I nervously made my way to the dresser for a closer look. It was a terrible-looking thing, resembling a Venetian mask with the top carved out to be some kind of crossbreed between a vulture and a snake. The beak bore forward, lurching like it needed to grow out of the mask itself. Mandible-like features that jutted out from the bottom kept it propped upwards to face me. This put me on alert. It made me remember when I passed out on the couch last night and left the front door open. This had to be placed here by someone. Some sick bastard toying with me. After finishing up in the bathroom, I carefully made my way to the lockbox I had brought with me. Word to the wise: if you want to live in Florida, then you should buy a gun. I took out my Glock and kept it firm in my hands as I listened to my surroundings. Perhaps a creak, a groan of the floorboard under someone's weight. But I couldn't do that unless I turned the music down in the front room. While I cautiously made my way out to lower the volume, I thought to myself that if any intruder were to still be in the house, then I would have already known, or they would have already killed me by now. They had all the time in the world while I was staring at a flat screen and getting wrecked for hours. Still, I was on high alert, despite my decent buzz and knowing that I had my gun with me. It did make my confidence rise, so the next 45 minutes were spent with me circling the inside of the house while keeping the music on a low volume. I needed to keep myself grounded somehow, and the tunes helped calm my nerves. It was a little after midnight when I heard this noise under the sounds of my pacing. A knocking that rapped against the front door, off and on. I stopped pacing, noticing it was indeed after midnight, and I immediately felt a shiver through my body. I went for my drink and downed the rest of it in 3 large gulps. I had already drawn the curtains and locked every door, so I was thankful for that at least. This was clearly happening, and I think I was so fried out of my mind then that the feeling of terror was muddled into a dull understanding. Feeling a bit bold, I went toward the door and shouted, "Who the hell is it?" The voice on the other side of the door took a moment to reply.
"Hello? My car broke down and I need to use your phone."
The voice of a woman called out. While it didn't seem too out of the ordinary, I just couldn't bring myself to be too trusting right now. Especially not after everything I had experienced up to this point.
"Can you open the door, please?"
The woman called out again. The way her voice sounded was distinctly monotone. Even though her phrasing suggested urgency, the tone was lacking really any sort of distress for the situation. Maybe she was tired? I looked through the peephole, and sure enough, there was a woman there, looking impatient. But I stood on the belief that someone, or something, was fucking with me. It still didn't explain that owl I saw last night, or the strange mask suddenly in my room. So then I wondered, What the fuck was really going on?
Please?
Fuck off, I shouted, because I was stressed and she interrupted my thoughts. Being scared and drunk with a firearm will undoubtedly make you do some frantic things.
Fine.
The voice replied, rather disappointed, and I started to feel a bit worried that I may actually be ignoring someone in need. I guess the least I could do is allow her to use my phone on the front porch, then go wait for help at her car. Her footsteps faded as she made her way off the wooden porch and onto the driveway. I opened the door, keeping the firearm behind me, and called out,
Hey, sorry about that.
She turned to face me and opened her mouth to speak.
I know it's late.
She was much prettier with the porch light now illuminating her features. I felt much better knowing I was just helping a girl out. She's probably on the way to see her boyfriend or something. I blinked, and what happened next registered way too late than I cared to admit. She was lifted off the ground by something massive. A white shape with clawed feet yanked her upwards in a sudden flash. I barely heard anything approaching. I mistook it for the wind. It made me think about this one YouTube video I watched, where they had studio microphones record the sounds of individual birds of prey to find out which one was more silent. The barn owl took first place. You don't hear them coming. Above me, I heard a scream of terror, but it was quickly silenced by a sickening tearing sound. You can't forget a sound like that. It stays with you. Flesh being forced apart and the gurgling echo of a scream. All of this happened in seconds, and I couldn't see where the woman was taken, even when looking up and around for anything. Wet and earthy thuds occurred in front of me suddenly, and I watched in stunned disgust as the woman's shredded limbs and torso plopped onto the grass. Instinct finally kicked in, and I shut and locked the door in an instant. I was in a trance then. The feeling was indescribable. Dread, confusion, and fear dominated me, sending my nervous system into a shock I have never known until now. I could hear the sounds of something wet and meaty from behind the door. Whatever it was, it sounded like someone ravenously chewing food with a full mouth. I had to move, to hide or defend myself while I was distracted for the moment. Quickly gathering enough composure, I ran to the bedroom, away from the door, and took my phone out of my pocket. What the fuck are these things? I frantically opened a Google browser, hands shaking. The sounds of banging and scraping would periodically reverberate around me, as if the thing were slamming into the house. Through the panic, I tried to think of the most obvious description I could come up with for Google's engine to give me something reliable. Or maybe just an idea of something, so I know what I'm dealing with. Jerry was fairly vague on the details, but I remember him saying something about their names attracting them to you. Inviting them, or something like that. Well, the fucker is here, so I don't really think that matters right now. Curse of an Owl Cryptid that terrorizes South Florida is what I went with. My results were informative enough. Rather detailed descriptions of what they are and their origins were accessible on a few websites. One in particular covered Native American mythology, dating back to when the Seminoles formed here in the 1800s. The website described that a witch learned how to master a terrible form of dark magic, where the heart of a human was eaten to become a large undead beast. This witch amassed a following of others to become inducted into a cult, and were taught how to use this powerful transformation, becoming undead by performing a horrible ritual where the victim's organs are consumed while wearing a mask crafted by an elder. During the day, they would appear like any other human walking on the street. Come nightfall, they could transform by vomiting their intestines and soul to become hollow for the shape-shifting to occur. Once a victim was taken in from the ritual, whoever devoured the flesh had the ability to mimic the victim's form and use their voice to lure people into whatever hellish trap they set. The name given on the website was Ishkatini, or Stigini, which translates to horned owl by Seminole people. It is said that when the name is spoken out loud, it invites misfortune to the speaker, which is what they are drawn to. making it easier for them to control someone with their supernatural influence and abilities. By now, I was petrified and simultaneously thinking of any way to get out of this situation. The bangs from that thing died down then, making me feel vulnerable, as if it was stalking me from a nearby tree, waiting for me to go outside so it could eviscerate me. I wish I had more alcohol, because then at least I could drink myself into a stupor and eventually fade to black, or get myself killed and not feel a damn thing. But could they get in? I wondered why it didn't just break the door down. Maybe they're like vampires and needed to be let in. I doubt it, because these are predatory creatures. They live for the hunt. It would be far too easy to just enter the home and kill me. But I thought back to that boarded up window. Were there others here that got fucked with by those things and boarded up that window? Oh my God. I called my friend's uncle. No answer. I tried that friend too, Kyle, and he didn't answer either. I was about to call the police then, but Jerry's name rang through my mind. I wish I had his number. Maybe he would be able to help. Jerry. Those herbs would help, and I was glad that I had them, because I was so terrified that I didn't know what else to do. Immediately, I began warming up some water, seeing a flash of white streak from outside the small kitchen window above the sink, which didn't have any blinds to cover it. I kept my head down while I lit the flower petals and let the smoke permeate in the air. I waited until the mixture was made, and I drank it deeply while making my way to the couch, swallowing the herbs once I sat down, setting my gun on the coffee table. The taste was a little bitter, albeit with notes of citrus, but I didn't care. I just wanted it to work and for this thing to go away. The speaker was playing some song as I let the tea take effect, whenever the hell that would be, and did my best to just relax. About 10 minutes trailed by and everything seemed to calm down. I didn't hear any hoots, no knocking, nothing. Not even crickets or wind. I didn't feel any negativity as my world seemed to become still in the moments leading up to total relaxation on the couch. As I let my mind rest, positive emotions and thoughts soaked into me like water filling a sponge. My eyes felt like they've been moisturized with the world's best eye drops, and I took a long sigh of relief in the serenity. I was happy again. This is what I wanted. What I came here for. A peace you can't ignore. It's in the room with you, in your bones, in your soul. Laughter erupted from out of my mouth. The noise entered the walls by an echo of frequency, my voice giving them life. There was a pitch beneath it that made follicles stand tall. Antennas for my entertainment, tuning in. The channel changed on the flat screen, a vision televised, static appearing then fading out like a cold breath. It was me in there.
Hello.
On the channel, in the moment, living as I breathe, absorbing the space around me now. Crystal clear. I was standing atop the precipice of a new day. A new me. It was always meant to be this way. For everyone.
You can come too.
Clay surroundings molded into shapes. The walls breathed in, out. Each breath meant transformation. Each moment a new shape. Solid lines into solid understanding. Light and hue to give them purpose. To give them a reason to be. The white owl hooted. Another channel to watch. It was on the floor, by the bedroom door right where it was always supposed to be, looking at me with the galaxy in its eyes.
You can be so hard to please.
Angela said. She was embedded in the wall, with her organs spilling out from under her head. I know. I'm sorry, I said to Angela, though my voice came from the owl. Its head tilted to one side and was eating Angela's organs, slurping up the entrails like spaghetti. It spoke again. I love you. The moon was in the house, on the ceiling and smiling upon my fortune, waiting for my smile. I took in my new environment. Alive was the ecosystem in the kingdom. Magical epiphanies intertwined within everything my eyes could perceive. A rapid spiral sequencing in a constant state of evolution. Thoughts manifest into the air and take shape in the coding. Outside, a visitor spoke, in my head or down my throat. Outside. Outside.
Look outside. Outside.
The windows were floating away from me.
Look outside.
It was a game of wits and motion, a calculated equation to be solved.
Look outside.
I looked outside. Outside. They were outside. Beaked white masks and living shadows dancing with the wind, circling the house, singing songs of swarms in the warmth of summer.
In the warmth in us.
The mask from earlier was suddenly in my hand. Or maybe it's always been there.
Put it on.
The white owl told me. It fit nicely on my face. An embrace that formed perfectly to the skin, like it was always meant to be there. To take shape in my flesh and call it home. The knocks on the door were accompanied by a welcomed invitation. An invitation to the castle. An invitation to the secret. I wanted to know the secret. They told me to stay close as we walked through the swamp. The owl was on my shoulders, right where it was always supposed to be, and looking at me with the galaxy in its eyes, whispering to me. No, singing the songs of swarms in the warmth of flesh.
Consume the essence and flaws within. Drink from the heart and dance in their skin.
We walked on in glee and made it through the swamp to an opening displaying the castle. A marvelous sight indeed. A castle that floated on water. The secret was there. Oh, I could tell. Oh, yes, I could tell. The castle was glowing a deep purple with auras of indigo, alive with bioluminescence, inviting me closer, telling me whispers and hints of the secret. I was so overjoyed knowing that I would become the keeper of the secret, and the bearer of truth. There was a moat we traversed on a boat to reach the doors. The water around us, a still reminder that secrets need to be hard to reach, lest the hand of the unwelcomed tries to tarnish it. In the distance, a tall man stood in front of the castle doors. He was cloaked in a silky black that glimmered in the moonlight, great black feathers protruding in majesty. We were close enough to see who it was, and I was alight with elation to see my old friend, Jerry.
Jerry!
I shouted with joy.
Hurry, you're here! I'm so glad!
From within the feathers surrounding his body, he produced a mask similar to mine and placed it on his face with grace. He then turned to open the doors that revealed the innards of the castle. A little dusty, but I didn't care. The secret was in here. The white owl flew off of my shoulders and told me to follow. I didn't hesitate. I reached a chamber deep below the castle. There were others there. The flame from sconces danced wildly in the space, casting shadows that danced back. I began to feel a change from within. It existed deep in the pits of my soul, waiting to be discovered, waiting for the secret that was kept here like it was always supposed to be. There, in the center of the chamber, was a woman. She lay on the floor, exposed and vulnerable, archaic markings under her mesmerizing thighs. My attention went to a shimmering dagger in her grip. She playfully caresses it along her ribcage and in between her breasts. Her body and eyes cast a lure on me that I wouldn't dare to fight. For I knew this was where I was always supposed to be. I removed my clothing and approached her until I was inches away. Our senses were now linked, invoking thoughts as communication, and we shared a primal urge to break the barrier between us. At once, her legs wrapped around me. Pure ecstasy followed. An unholy union made with our flesh as I thrust into her welcoming embrace. We locked eyes in a moment of revelation. The galaxy in her gaze rotated and spun a web of commands to me. Consume the essence and flaws within. Drink from my heart and dance in my skin. Shed thy innocence with primal union and right, for the hunt lies in the absence of light. She held up a dagger to me. It was here when I noticed two great pale horns that protruded from her head, affixed at angles akin to the white owl's brow, complemented and defined by her radiant pale skin. She glowed like moonlight. It was magnificent, haunting and beautiful. The masked visitors encouraged me to follow through with what I was always meant to do. Because if I did, then the secret would reveal itself, finally. She smiled as I buried the blade deep into her abdomen. She smiled as I glided the blade downward to open her up to me again. She smiled as blood flowed from her soft and tender lips. She smiled as I discarded the blade and reached inside. She smiled as I located her beating heart and pulled it free. Her smile widened as I unhinged my jaw and bit down on the organ. She was still standing as the blood began to flow down my face like a waterfall. I engorged myself with the delicacy, finishing the meal in a few short moments. The white owl woman in front of me stood gracefully, her entire torso hollowed out by my hand, and long ropes of entrails squirmed their way towards me. I extended a hand for them to coil around my arm, then allowing them to enter down my throat. The white-horned owl finally showed me the secret. We make peace in knowing that we are the snake swallowing its own tail ad infinitum. This is true evolution, the next step in the right direction, assimilated through cellular structures within another, through ancient teachings. We bow in its majesty. Bones begin to shift, then eventually crack into new formation. I allowed the ascendancy to occur, causing an intense instinctual hunger to boil within me. I smiled as my old mouth fell to the floor, teeth and lips now at my feet, as my upper jaw formed into a great beak that could easily pierce flesh. I'm convinced. Isolation is good for the body and mind sometimes. Kyle and his uncle were waiting for me back at the house. They didn't need to ask where I was and why I didn't have any clothes. They already knew. That's fine. I've accepted it. After all, some secrets are necessary. Florida and the Everglades are truly a place of beauty and mysterious wonder. The land is alive with history, and if you listen closely, you may hear the sounds of the past that can guide you to a better future. I've decided to patch things up with Angela. It took a little bit of convincing, but ultimately, the power of love always prevails. I told her about the house and explained what a wonderful area it was in. The perfect getaway for a couple to enjoy their time together. But this place isn't only reserved for me and mine. Anyone can come here and bask in the isolation. away from social norms and expectations of the world. You really should come out here. In fact, I encourage it.